Hi, today we're going to talk about doing SEO for your images in the blog in Wix. Um, just to give you an idea, we're here in the dashboard of the blog and I'm in one of these posts. If I click on this image, for example, there are these options that will appear. One of them is settings. You can add captions to your images, which I don't typically do too much because usually the text below it is related to it, but you're welcome to add it. There's also this alt text. This is what tells Google and anybody who needs accessibility reading on the site. It tells them what's in this image. So in this case, because I have this blog post titled Best Fence Company in Sacramento, it's good to have at least one image that has those same keywords. So this just kind of goes along with this. It doesn't explain exactly what this fence is. We can certainly do that. We could say, wood or redwood fence with caps or something like that, to give it a little bit more information. The more information you put is great. Of course, when you're doing SEO and if you have a title of your blog post that you're trying to get found for on Google and other search engines, it's good to use those exact terms that people are typing in to Google too, as the beginning, and then you can kind of elaborate it here, beyond that. We can now hit save. Now, you had mentioned that you had put some meta tags into the images, and I'm not sure what you mean by that, but let's look at the gallery. So if I wanted to swap this image out, or if I just wanted to add a new one, so let's add a new one here. I'm going to go to the images, and then here's all the images. I believe a lot of these are the ones that you were resizing to see if we could make the site load faster, but as we now know, Wix doesn't go any faster to size your images down, and Wix actually recommends having the highest resolution ones anyway, so I would recommend not using these, and it may even be good to go in and delete all of these to get rid of these small ones after we've restored the other ones. I'm waiting to see if it looks like most of them have restored, and actually I'm not getting the messages restoring them anymore, so I think all the high-res images that were here are there now. One easy way to change the order of these is to use the ascending, so it's kind of showing last modified from the very beginning downward. So this will be good because then you can see these are all the images that are high res until you get to the point where you started uploading the smaller ones, which we don't want to actually use because they are blurrier and they just don't look as good. So we might want to go through all these and delete any of the new ones that you have, in which case you'd want to maybe do it the other way and then go through them and just delete the ones you have. Now, keep in mind, when you delete an image from this media library, if it exists anywhere on the site, it still kind of lives on your Wix site. It doesn't delete it from the pages that those images reside on. So it doesn't really hurt to delete them out of here because it won't affect anything on the site. It will keep the ones that are already being used. They may not show up in your media library after you've trashed them, but they do still exist on your site. So there's no way to just delete an image and replace it with a different image and have it do that all throughout the site. You have to go to each page to do it. But when you're in this area, if you click on an image, for example, the keywords, the tags here, these are not communicated at all to Google, or they don't help with SEO. So adding tags here is not going to help with that. What these tags really are for is for filtering, so that you can, well, I think that's what they're for. I'm not even sure what these are for actually, because it's like, what if I do search? Yeah, I mean, this doesn't even give you the option to show those tags. So I'm not even sure why they put these here. I think it's more just for your information. If you want to make sure that Google's reading things, one thing to do is to name all of these files with good keywords. So this one could be, Sacramento, well, whatever it is, and I'm not going to do this right now, but Minto wood fence, and then dog ear unpressure treated posts, and get rid of the .jpeg and kind of just clean up this file name. Now, this isn't the end-all be-all, though, because this is just the one that resides here. Now, if I were to add this to the page, So I'm going to go ahead and add it here. The next step, and actually the step with all of these images when you drop them into a page, is you actually have to add those keywords again. They need to be added here. In some galleries on the pages themselves, the captions will come through as the file name, but in the blog it doesn't come through. So if we want to have text here for the keywords to kind of tell Google what this is, as well as any accessibility viewers, you gotta do it here too. So we would put in, you know, Sacramento Fence Company, good neighbor fence in redwood with alternating sides, or something like that. And that way we're kind of focusing on the keyword. In this case, let's hit save. I think this one's called what makes superior. Well, we're going to use that best one again. So I'm going to go in here, come here, and let's do this. Best fence company in Sacramento, and then good neighbor fence. The reason is that this kind of reinforces it to Google that, hey, there's several pictures in here that are talking about the best fence company, and they may even index it in their Google Images results, and it also helps just with your general results. So now I'm going to hit save. Now this image is optimized for SEO, and it tells people what it is, tells Google what it is, so that they know what is in this picture, and it helps with your SEO. So I'm going to hit publish. And that's that. So again, coming in here, you just want to go to each of these images, and you're going to want to do this. So I've gone through, and when I do blog posts, I just always add that. So I'm using Sacramento Fence Contractor in this purpose, just because I think that's a good term to be used for these images, or that image, because you're talking about fence contractors. People may not actually be searching red flags when looking for a fence contractor. So sometimes your blog post may not be exactly what you want to name your images. So this one could also say ornamental iron fence. I spelled that wrong. So you can just elaborate on it if you want, but just having some keywords there to kind of describe what's in that image helps. So go through, if you want to do meta tags, you actually have to go into the images themselves to add those. They don't carry through from that media library. I'm going to close out of this. Let's go to what are your blog pages, or what are your regular pages, I should say, because this page, when you come in here and click on Manage Media, this too, these will all have titles and descriptions on them. These all have to be set up. By default, the setting is set up so that it will bring in the same file name as what you have the name file. So that's where it really helps when, let's go to add media. If you can go through and you want to name these images with what they are, get rid of these dashes and so forth, and get rid of the .jpegs. You can go through and kind of name them all, so that at least when you bring them into a gallery, it's going to drop that text in automatically. But again, this isn't the end-all be-all place, because if you're putting it into a blog post or anywhere else, it's going to not necessarily carry that through. So this one did, because I'm in a gallery, but in the blog posts, it doesn't do that. So you have to actually manually add it. So one way to do that is when you're adding an image, you can copy and paste the file name and paste it into the blog text to carry that over, or just retype it. I'm going to delete this one out of here because we don't want it. And this goes to say, this is that same thing where these are all the high-res images that I originally dropped in here. You had gone through and started compressing and making smaller images. Well, they don't automatically replace in any of the pages, galleries, blog posts, etc. If you want to replace them, you have to come into these manually, remove them, or replace them. So it doesn't just automatically do it for you. So just keep that in mind, that all the compression you didn't really make any difference on the site anyway, because it doesn't automatically change any of these images, which is good, because we don't actually want to use those low res images, because Wix does feed the highest res image based on the person's viewing screen. So it kind of already does the compression and thinking for you to give the viewer the most high-res version that is needed for their device. So if they're on a phone, if it's giving them smaller images than if they were on a large screen monitor like myself. So it's kind of nice that way. You upload your large files, and then Wix does all that back-end work for you to kind of shrink it down to the exact size that the viewer needs. So that said, none of these images have changed. To speed up your site overall, one thing we can do is reduce the number of images. I know that our desktop is performing perfectly, as Wix sites usually do. The mobile is a little bit slower. If we really want to simplify it, we could reduce some of these images, maybe not have so many images, and just simplify it. We could also remove the blog, but I think that's kind of nice because it keeps your homepage dynamic and fresh. So we'll keep that. But if you want, we can simplify the site even more. But I always say, keep in mind with the Google Page Insights and everything, it's a program that is designed to run and kind of decide how things should be displayed or how fast things are loading. And it's basing that on like the slowest phones and the slowest speeds. Your site loads fine on my phone, whether I'm on a high-speed Wi-Fi or just out and about. I have not had any problems with your site loading on my phone or the other phones I've checked. So I don't really think that we're having any issues in that regard. Hopefully the Page Insights will start reflecting better speeds on Wix in time to come. I know Wix is always working on their page speeds, so I wouldn't put too much weight in that. You do well in search engine for Sacramento Fence Company and so forth. We should, of course, get you on the Google Maps and make sure that new location is verified. I know we were waiting for a postcard, I believe, a while back, and I don't know if that came through to you and if you've already verified it, but let's double check on that and maybe have the postcard reissued, because getting on the Google Maps is one of the most important things. And I know that we got kind of knocked off because it didn't like your old location. But hopefully the new one, we can get that postcard and make that happen so that you're on the map, because that also helps a lot. And then of course getting lots of reviews on your Google listing as well on that Google map would really help your SEO as well. And then just keeping doing what we're doing with the blog and adding new blog posts on a regular basis. That really helps, because every blog post is a new page, and Google loves to see that you're adding new pages and new information to your site all the time. And the more we do that, the more we rise up in the rankings. So let's keep doing what we're doing. I just kind of wanted to walk you through this. And like I said, if you want to go in here, I'm not sure which ones are the ones you had uploaded that were low res. One way to check is to just come into file info and see the size of these. A lot of these new ones here are small, like 720. That's just too small to use as a large image. So I would delete any of these that are duplicates basically of the original high-res ones, because we don't need them this small, and it doesn't really help speed up your site anyway. So you can use this to say descending, last modified. So these are all the most recent ones. You can select multiple ones by clicking and shifting, and then you can come up here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You have to move them to trash one by one. Well, maybe not. I thought you could do it. Let's try it real quick. I'm going to select 3. Yeah, I think you have to do them one by one, unfortunately. But we can go through and at least get rid of some of these so that they're not going to we're not going to accidentally grab these small ones instead of the big ones, because well, this is a big one, so that one's fine. But it would be good maybe to go through these. Or when you're adding them into a blog post, just check and make sure that the file size is not tiny. As long as it's like over 1,000 by 1,000, that's usually big enough. Ideally 1980 pixels wide is good for a full screen wide image. So this one's plenty big. A lot of these are. So, and you can just kind of reverse these to see, like, these are the beginning of the files where I started, so we know all these are the highest res ones that we had available, I believe, because I just uploaded the ones you had sent. But not all of them are high res, because I think a lot of these are a little bit older images, so it depends on the image. But anyway, again, If you delete them out of here, or if you replace or upload new ones, they're not going to automatically update on the site. You have to go into the site and do that manually. So at least that means that you didn't, nothing auto replace with all the low res stuff when you did that compression to test to see if it sped it up. Anyway, let me know if you have any other questions. Hopefully this kind of goes through and explains kind of how things are working here. One other small note, and I've gone through and done this as well, is there are the slideshow and strips also have SEO. So you'll see down here I have put in text for these images. So again, all this stuff is more or less done, but I just want to show you, going forward, if you wanted to add more tags or things to this, this is where you would do it. You come into change column background, or you change the strip background, you go into the settings, scroll down, and you'll see down here, this is what the text is that we're sending to Google and accessibility programs to read to tell them what that image is. It is not good to stuff this. So you wouldn't want to say redwood fencing, comma, board on board redwood fencing, comma, redwood fencing in California, comma, redwood fencing in Sacramento. You want to keep it concise. It's okay for it to be somewhat long. Just don't repeat or try to, they call it stuffing, keyword stuffing, where you're adding a whole bunch of terms to an image. You want to really be succinct and say kind of, this is this, and say it once. Say it something like what somebody would be reading that image, what a caption of that image would be good to have. So write it in a good way. Don't overdo it, and don't stuff it. And then again, keep in mind that the tags in the back end of Wix, I really don't even know what their purpose is, other than for you, when you're looking through your media library, you can expand those tabs and decide if it might help for you, just or if you had staff to be like, oh, what is this? The title may not be as descriptive as, you could put more things into these tags for your reference. But again, these do not get passed through to Google, so they don't really do a lot from an SEO standpoint. All right, let me know if you have any other questions.